The transport shuttle bumped against the docking ring with a soft metallic clang that echoed through the passenger compartment. Ambassador Krill adjusted his ceremonial robes and checked his translation device one final time. Through the small porthole, he could see the human mining station stretching out before him like a collection of metal boxes connected by tubes. It looked exactly like every other frontier settlement he had visited in his 40 years of diplomatic service. Krill had overseen the integration of 17 species into the Hegemony Council. The process was always the same. First contact, cultural exchange, technology assessment, and finally the formal invitation to join the galactic community. Most species were eager to participate. A few required gentle persuasion. None had ever refused. The humans would be no different. Their application had been processed 6 months ago, and all the preliminary reports suggested a straightforward case. Level 3 civilization, recently developed faster-than-light travel, population of roughly 8 billion concentrated on their homeworld, with small colonies scattered across 12 systems. They had discovered the quantum communication network by accident while experimenting with their primitive computers. Their first message to the galaxy had been polite, curious, and slightly apologetic for the intrusion. The airlock cycled open with a hiss of equalizing pressure. Krill stepped through into what appeared to be a standard reception area. The lighting was soft and warm, designed to be comfortable for most species. Several humans waited for him, dressed in simple work clothes rather than formal diplomatic attire. This was not unusual. Many frontier species preferred practical clothing over ceremony. The human who stepped forward was tall by their species standards, with graying hair and calm brown eyes. He extended his hand in the human greeting gesture, and Krill carefully mimicked the action. The human's grip was firm but not aggressive. "Ambassador Krill," the human said in accented but clear galactic standard. "I am Captain Hayes, administrator of this facility. Welcome to Titan 7. Krill nodded respectfully. "Captain Hayes, thank you for agreeing to host these negotiations. The Hegemony Council is pleased to begin the integration process with your species." "Integration," Hayes repeated, as if testing the word. "Yes, we're very interested in learning more about that process." They walked through corridors that reminded Krill of a dozen other mining stations. The walls were functional metal panels. The floors were simple grating, and the air carried the faint smell of recycled atmosphere and industrial lubricants. Humans passed them in the hallways, nodding politely but not stopping to stare. This showed good discipline and cultural awareness. Hayes led him to a conference room with a large window overlooking the mining operation below. Massive extraction. Machines moved slowly across the asteroid's surface, gathering raw materials with mechanical precision. It was an impressive operation for such a young species. "Please, sit," Hayes said, gesturing to a chair that had obviously been specially constructed for Krill's physiology. This attention to detail was another positive sign. "Would you like some refreshments? We have several varieties of synthetic nutrients that should be compatible with your digestive system." Krill accepted a cup of something that tasted vaguely like the nectar from his homeworld. It was surprisingly good. "Your hospitality is appreciated, Captain. Shall we begin with the standard cultural exchange? I have prepared materials about the hegemony structure, benefits of membership, and the responsibilities of member species." Hayes smiled. The expression looked genuine, though Krill was still learning to read human facial signals. "Of course. But first, perhaps you could tell me more about the current state of the galaxy. We've been somewhat isolated out here, and our information networks are limited." This was a reasonable request. Most new species wanted to understand the political landscape before committing to anything. Krill activated his holographic display and began the standard presentation he had given countless times before. "The Hegemony Council currently consists of 43 member species," he explained as star charts appeared in the air between them. "We maintain peace through diplomatic cooperation, shared resource management, and mutual defense agreements. The galaxy has been largely stable for the past 2 centuries, though there are occasional minor conflicts along the frontier. Hayes leaned forward slightly. Minor conflicts? Border disputes mostly. Trade disagreements. The usual friction between expanding civilizations, nothing that threatens galactic stability. Krill highlighted several regions on the map. The most recent situation involved the Zephyrian Empire and the Crystalline Collective arguing over mining rights in the Vega sector. It was resolved through standard arbitration procedures. What about more serious threats? Surely in a galaxy this size, there must be some dangerous elements. Krill paused. It was unusual for new species to focus on negative aspects so quickly. Most were more interested in trade opportunities and technological exchange. Well, there are a few nomadic groups that occasionally cause problems. Pirates, scavengers, that sort of thing. But they're generally small-scale operations that local security forces can handle. Nomadic groups, Hayes repeated. His tone remained conversational, but something in his posture had changed. Could you be more specific? There's the Ravager fleet, though they mostly stick to the Outer Rim territories. The Crimson Brotherhood operates in the asteroid belts of the Cygnus Arm, and there are the Void Hunters, but they haven't been active in Council space for several years. At the mention of Void Hunters, every human in the room went completely still. It lasted only a few seconds, but the silence was profound. Even the background hum of the station's systems seemed to fade. Then, just as suddenly, normal conversation resumed. Void Hunters, Hayes said calmly. I'm not familiar with that group. They're a nomadic species, very aggressive. They travel in large fleets, consuming resources from inhabited systems. Fortunately, they seem to prefer the unexplored regions beyond the galactic rim. As I said, they haven't bothered Council space recently. Hayes nodded thoughtfully. That's reassuring. We wouldn't want our new colonies to face any unnecessary dangers. They spent the next 3 hours reviewing standard integration procedures. Hayes asked intelligent questions about trade regulations, immigration policies, and diplomatic protocols. His responses showed a sophisticated understanding of interstellar politics, despite humanity's recent arrival on the galactic stage. As the day's session concluded, Hayes walked Krill to his guest quarters. I hope you found our discussions productive, Ambassador. We're very interested in pursuing membership in the Hegemony Council. Excellent, Krill replied. I'll prepare my preliminary report tonight. Based on our conversations, I see no obstacles to humanity's integration. Your species shows remarkable adaptability and wisdom for such a young civilization. Hayes paused at the door to Krill's quarters. Thank you. I think you'll find that humans can be very adaptable when circumstances require it. After Hayes left, Krill settled at his portable workstation to begin his report. The humans were proceeding exactly according to pattern. Cooperative, eager to learn, appropriately deferential to more experienced species. Their technology was adequate, their social structure was stable, and their leadership showed proper diplomatic instincts. He made a note to recommend fast-track integration. The galaxy could always use another reasonable, peaceful species. The emergency alarm cut through the morning air like a blade, its harsh electronic shriek bouncing off the metal walls of the mining station. Krill jerked awake in his quarters, his forearms automatically reaching for his emergency beacon. The sound was universal across all hegemony facilities. Distress signal. Within minutes, he was dressed and making his way to the command center. The corridors buzzed with activity as humans moved quickly, but without panic through the passages. Their efficiency impressed him. Many species would be running and shouting by now. The command center doors slid open to reveal a room full of humans working at various control stations. Large displays showed star charts, communication feeds, and status reports scrolling in. Multiple languages. Captain Hayes stood in the center of it all, his calm presence anchoring the controlled chaos around him. Ambassador, Hayes acknowledged as Krill approached. I'm afraid we have a situation. On the main display, a red indicator pulsed ominously near the edge of Council space. The system designation read, Beacon Prime. Krill's blood went cold. Beacon. Prime housed one of the largest research installations in the galaxy. 50,000 scientists from 12 different species worked there, studying everything from quantum mechanics to xenobiology. It was one of the hegemony's crown jewels of cooperative scientific achievement. What's the nature of the emergency? Krill asked, though part of him already suspected the answer. A human technician looked up from her console. Long-range sensors detected multiple large vessels entering the Beacon Prime system approximately 4 hours ago. The colony sent out an automated distress beacon before communications went dark. Hayes gestured to another display showing ship configurations that Krill recognized with growing horror. The vessels were massive, irregularly shaped, and covered in what looked like organic growths. They moved in the distinctive hunting pattern that had terrorized the Outer Rim for decades. Void hunters, Krill whispered. So you do know them, Hayes observed. His tone remained conversational, but his eyes had gone hard. The automated message from Beacon Prime indicated they had perhaps 6 hours before the colony's defenses would be completely overwhelmed. Krill's mind raced through standard emergency protocols. We need to contact the Hegemony Council immediately. The nearest patrol fleet is stationed at Xerion Base, but that's 18 hours away even at maximum acceleration. We should begin evacuation procedures for all non-essential personnel in the region. Evacuation, Hayes repeated. The word hung in the air like a challenge. It's standard procedure for Void Hunter encounters, Krill explained. They travel in fleets of 50 to 100 ships. Each vessel carries thousands of warriors bred specifically for combat. They consume entire civilizations, leaving nothing behind but empty worlds. The only effective strategy is strategic withdrawal, until sufficient force can be assembled. Hayes turned to his communications officer. Lieutenant Rodriguez, patch me through to Beacon Prime. Use emergency frequencies. Sir, their communications array was destroyed in the initial attack. Then patch me through to their emergency backup systems. Every facility has them. Rodriguez worked at her console for several minutes before shaking her head. I'm getting intermittent signals, but nothing clear enough for two-way communication. Hayes was quiet for a long moment, studying the tactical display. The red dots representing Void Hunter ships moved slowly but inexorably toward the research station's position. How long did you say they have? 6 hours, maybe 7 if they're lucky, Krill replied. But Captain, there's nothing we can do from here. This mining station isn't equipped for military action. We should focus on coordinating with the Council fleet. 6 hours. Hayes turned to face his crew. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard the ambassador. Beacon Prime has 6 hours before 50,000 people die. He paused, letting that number sink in. How long to prep the battle fleet? The command center went silent except for the hum of electronics. Krill stared at Hayes in confusion. I'm sorry, what did you say? I asked how long to prep the battle fleet, Hayes repeated calmly. A tall human with graying temples stepped forward. All ships can be combat ready in 90 minutes, sir. Full deployment will take another 30 minutes. After that, Krill's translation device must be malfunctioning. Captain Hayes, I think there's been some confusion. This is a mining operation. You don't have a battle fleet. Hayes looked at him with what might have been pity. Ambassador Krill, would you please join me in my private office? I think it's time we had a more detailed conversation about humanity's capabilities. The office was spartanly furnished with a desk, 2 chairs, and a small window overlooking the mining operation. Hayes closed the door and activated a privacy screen before speaking. Krill, I need you to understand something very important. What you've seen here is not the full extent of human civilization. It's not even close. I don't understand. Hayes touched a control panel on his desk, and the window's display changed. Instead of mining equipment, Krill now saw massive ship construction facilities hidden beneath the asteroid's surface. Dozens of vessels in various stages of completion filled enormous underground hangars. They were not mining ships. Titan 7 is not just a mining station, Hayes explained. It's a forward operating base. We've been here for 2 years, monitoring Void Hunter movement patterns and preparing for exactly this scenario. The displays continued to change, showing similar facilities in star systems throughout the region. Each one was larger than anything Krill had imagined possible for such a young species. "How many ships do you have?" Krill asked weakly. "In this sector, about 300 combat vessels of various classes." "Galaxy-wide?" Hayes shrugged. "Let's just say we've been busy since achieving faster-than-light travel. But your application to the Hegemony Council. Your species is listed as Level 3 civilization. We are Level 3 by your classification system. We've had FTL for less than 50 years. We have 8 billion people on our home world and small colonies scattered across 12 systems. Everything in our application was technically accurate." Krill struggled to process this information. "Then how do you have 300 warships in a single sector?" Hayes smiled, and for the first time since the alert began, the expression looked genuinely warm. "Ambassador, has it ever occurred to you that a species might build a military before they build a diplomatic corps?" Through the office speakers, an announcement echoed across the station. "All personnel to battle stations. This is not a drill. Fleet deployment in 90 minutes. Hayes stood and moved toward the door. "I'm going to save those 50,000 people, Krill. You can observe from here if you wish, or you can come with us and see how humans handle pest control." Pest control. The Void Hunters have been a problem for the galaxy for too long. Today, we solve that problem permanently. As Hayes left the office, Krill remained seated, staring at the displays showing humanity's hidden fleet. Everything he thought he knew about this species had just been turned upside down. Through the window, he watched the mining station transform before his eyes as concealed weapons emerged from what had appeared to be simple industrial equipment. In the distance, the first human warships began emerging from their underground hangars. They moved with purpose and precision that spoke of long practice and careful planning. The Void Hunters had no idea what was coming for them. The transformation was unlike anything Krill had ever witnessed in 4 decades of diplomatic service. What had been a simple mining station 2 hours ago now revealed itself as something entirely different. Massive panels in the asteroid's surface slid away to expose weapon batteries that tracked smoothly across the star field. Docking bays expanded as hidden mechanisms activated, revealing berths for dozens of ships that had been concealed beneath false walls. Krill stood in the observation deck, watching human crews move with mechanical precision between stations. There was no excitement, no battle cries, no displays of aggression. They worked with the same calm efficiency he had observed during their trade negotiations, as if preparing for interstellar warfare was simply another routine task. Captain Hayes appeared beside him, now wearing what looked like military dress, uniform rather than civilian clothes. The transformation in the man was as complete as the station's. Where before Krill had seen a mining administrator, he now recognized the bearing of someone who had commanded in battle. "Impressive, isn't it?" Hayes said conversationally. "We've been refining these procedures for the better part of 18 months. Every drill, every simulation has been building toward this moment." 18 months? Krill turned to stare at the human. "You've been planning this for 18 months? Planning is perhaps too strong a word. Preparing would be more accurate. We've been tracking Void Hunter movement patterns since we first learned of their existence. They follow predictable routes, hitting systems in sequence as they drain each one of resources. Beacon Prime was always going to be a target. The only question was when. Through the observation window, Krill watched the first wave of human ships launching from their hidden berths. These were not the crude, functional vessels he had expected from a Level 3 civilization. They moved with fluid grace. Their hull, designs incorporating technology that shouldn't exist outside the most advanced species in the galaxy. "How is this possible?" Krill asked. "Your species has had faster-than-light travel for less than 50 years. These ships, this coordination, this level of strategic planning, it should take centuries to develop such capabilities." Hayes was quiet for a moment, watching his fleet form up in perfect attack formations. "Ambassador, what do you know about human history?" "The basic information from your species file. Agricultural development, industrial revolution, atomic energy, space travel, first contact protocols, standard progression for most civilizations." "Did your research include information about our wars?" Krill felt a chill run through his system. "Wars?" "In the past century alone, we fought 2 global conflicts that killed over 100 million people. Before that, smaller wars were almost constant throughout our recorded history. We have been refining the art of warfare for thousands of years, Ambassador. The only thing that changed when we reached the stars was the scale. The human fleet continued to grow as ships emerged from concealment points throughout the system. Krill began to realize that what he had taken for asteroid mining operations were actually camouflaged military installations. The entire system was a fortress disguised as an industrial zone. Every human colony, every research station, every trade outpost, Hayes continued, serves dual purposes. We are peaceful, Ambassador. We genuinely want to join your Hegemony Council and participate in galactic civilization. But we learned long ago that peace is only possible when you are prepared for war. A communications officer approached them with a tablet. "Sir, fleet status report. All vessels are combat ready and in position. We have confirmation from sectors 7 through 12. Operations are coordinated and standing by." Sectors 7 through 12? Krill's voice was barely a whisper. Hayes accepted the tablet and reviewed the information. "Oh, yes. I should have mentioned. This isn't just a local operation. We're hitting every known Void Hunter position simultaneously. Today, we end the threat permanently." "Every position? How many ships are we talking about?" "The Void Hunters operate approximately 47 fleets scattered across the Outer Rim. Each fleet contains between 60 and 100 vessels. Today, we eliminate all of them." The numbers made no sense to Krill. Even the largest hegemony, military actions involved at most a few dozen ships. What Hayes was describing would require coordination on a scale that no single species had ever achieved. "Captain Hayes, are you telling me that humanity has been conducting a secret military buildup across multiple galactic sectors while simultaneously applying for peaceful integration with the Hegemony Council?" Hayes smiled. "Ambassador, we told you the truth. We are a young species interested in peaceful cooperation. We simply didn't mention that we're also very, very good at warfare." On the tactical display, red dots representing Void Hunter fleets began appearing across multiple sectors. Each red formation was surrounded by blue dots representing human ships. The humans outnumbered their targets by at least 3-1 in every engagement. "The Beacon Prime situation gave us the perfect excuse to reveal our capabilities," Hayes explained. "We couldn't let 50,000 people die just to maintain our cover, but this way we solved 2 problems at once. We save the research colony and eliminate a galactic threat that has terrorized civilizations for centuries." Krill watched the display with growing amazement and terror. "You used the Void Hunter attack as an opportunity to launch a galaxy-wide extermination campaign." "Extermination is such an ugly word. We prefer to think of it as pest control. How long have you been planning this?" "Since the day we learned the Void Hunters existed. Your diplomatic reports mentioned them as a minor threat. Our research suggested otherwise. We found records of 37 civilizations completely destroyed by Void Hunter fleets. Entire species wiped out, billions dead." The first human ships reached Beacon Prime's coordinates. On the display, the engagement began immediately. The blue dots moved in perfect coordination, surrounding and isolating individual red dots before overwhelming them with concentrated firepower. You see, Ambassador, there's something you need to understand about humanity. We don't believe in acceptable losses. We don't believe in strategic retreats. When something threatens innocent people, we don't evacuate and hope someone else handles the problem. We fix it ourselves. The battle at Beacon Prime lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it was over, every red dot had disappeared from the display. Similar results were being reported from sectors across the galaxy as human fleets completed their missions with mechanical efficiency. "How are you coordinating all of this?" Krill asked weakly. "Quantum communication networks mostly." "The same. Technology you use for your diplomatic channels, just applied on a larger scale. We've been monitoring Void Hunter communications for months, learning their tactics, identifying their leadership structures. When we hit them today, we hit them everywhere at once. No survivors, no regrouping, no possibility of retaliation." Hayes turned from the tactical display to face Krill directly. "Ambassador, I want you to understand something very important. What you've witnessed today is not conquest. It's not aggression. It's simply problem-solving. The Void Hunters were a threat to galactic stability, so we removed them. Cleanly, efficiently, and permanently. And if the Hegemony Council objects to your methods, why would they object? We saved 50,000 researchers. We eliminated a threat that has plagued the galaxy for centuries. We did it without asking for help, without demanding resources, and without claiming territory. Tomorrow, we'll go back to being a young species interested in peaceful trade and cultural exchange." Through the observation window, the human fleet was already beginning to disperse back to their hidden bases. Within hours, the mining operation would resume its normal appearance. The weapons would be concealed, the ships hidden, and Captain Hayes would return to his role as a simple administrator discussing trade agreements. "One question, Captain. Why reveal this to me? Why not maintain the deception?" Hayes considered this carefully. "Because, Ambassador, the galaxy needs to know that someone is watching, not to threaten or intimidate, but to reassure. There will always be threats out there, things that prey on peaceful civilizations. Today, those threats learned that humanity is watching, and humanity does not tolerate predators." The tactical display showed the final cleanup operations completing. Across all sectors, in less than 4 hours, humanity had eliminated a threat that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries. And they had done it with the same calm efficiency they showed when discussing mining quotas. Krill realized he was witnessing the emergence of something unprecedented in galactic history, not just another member species, but potentially the galaxy's immune system made manifest. Against every protocol in the Hegemony Diplomatic Handbook, Krill found himself aboard the human flagship Retribution as it moved toward the Beacon Prime system. The ship was nothing like the crude vessels he had expected from humanity's public fleet. The corridors were wide and well lit. The technology was seamlessly integrated into the walls and surfaces, and the entire vessel hummed with barely contained power. Captain Hayes had offered him the chance to observe the aftermath of the battle, and despite his better judgment, Krill had accepted. He needed to understand what he was reporting back to the Council. The scale of what humanity had accomplished in a single morning defied everything he thought he knew about galactic warfare. The bridge of the Retribution was a study in controlled efficiency. Dozens of humans worked at stations that monitored everything from ship systems to galactic communications. No one spoke above a conversational tone, yet information flowed seamlessly between crew members. It reminded Krill of watching a precision instrument operate. "Ambassador," Hayes said as he approached Krill's observation position, "we'll be arriving at Beacon Prime in approximately 10 minutes. I thought you might want to see the results of our intervention." Through the main display, Krill could see the research colony growing larger as they approached. The massive orbital platforms that housed laboratories and living quarters appeared intact. No signs of the battle that had raged here just hours ago were visible from this distance. "The colony is undamaged," Krill observed with relief. "The Void Hunters never got within weapons range of the station. We intercepted them at the edge of the system and ended the engagement before they could threaten the researchers." "What about survivors from the Void Hunter fleet?" Hayes turned to his tactical officer. "Lieutenant Park, final casualty report. On hostile forces." The young human checked her displays before responding. "0 survivors confirmed across all enemy vessels, sir. Complete elimination of hostile presence in the system." "Thank you, Lieutenant." Hayes turned back to Krill. "We don't leave problems half-solved, Ambassador." They entered orbit around Beacon Prime, and Krill could see the research facility in detail. Scientists were already returning to work, their normal routines resuming as if nothing had happened. The entire crisis had lasted less than 6 hours from start to finish. "Would you like to speak with the colony administrator?" Hayes offered. "Dr. Chen has been running the facility for 8 years. She can give you a first-hand account of the attack." Minutes later, Dr. Chen appeared on the communications screen. She was a middle-aged human with tired eyes, but a relieved expression. "Captain Hayes, I cannot thank you enough. We detected the Void Hunter fleet on long-range sensors and sent out the distress call, but frankly, we didn't expect help to arrive for at least a day." "Doctor, this is Ambassador Krill of the Hegemony Council. He's observing our response to the situation. Could you describe what you experienced during the attack?" Chen nodded respectfully to Krill before continuing. "We first detected the hostile fleet at approximately 0800 station time. 63 large vessels approaching from the outer system at high speed. We immediately activated our defensive systems and sent out the automated distress beacon." "How long before you detected the human response?" Krill asked. "That's the remarkable part. We weren't even sure help was coming until Captain Hayes's fleet appeared on sensors. One moment we were facing certain destruction, the next moment the threat simply disappeared. The entire engagement lasted less than 20 minutes. "Did you observe the battle directly?" Chen shook her head. "Not the battle itself. Our sensors showed the 2 fleets closing on each other at the system's edge, then suddenly all the Void Hunter signatures vanished from our displays. It was the most efficient military action I've ever witnessed." After the call ended, Hayes led Krill to another section of the ship. They passed through corridors lined with what looked like technical displays and status monitors. Everything was clean, functional, and operated with quiet efficiency. "I'd like to show you something that might help explain how we were able to respond so quickly," Hayes said as they entered what appeared to be a strategic planning center. The room contained a massive 3-dimensional display showing the entire galaxy in detail. Thousands of points of light represented star systems, trade routes, and what Krill was beginning to realize were human positions throughout known space. "This is our tactical overview," Hayes explained. "Every red dot represents a confirmed or suspected Void Hunter position. Every blue dot represents a human monitoring station or fleet base. Every green dot represents a critical target that requires protection." Krill stared at the display in growing amazement. The blue dots outnumbered both the red and green ones combined. "How many installations do you have?" "Enough." The key insight we had about the Void Hunter threat was that they could only be defeated through overwhelming force applied simultaneously across all their positions. Any conventional military response would simply push them to attack elsewhere. We needed a solution that eliminated the entire problem at once. "And you've been building toward this for 18 months? Actually, closer to 2 years. The moment we learned about the Void Hunters, we began developing countermeasures. What you saw today was the culmination of the largest coordinated military operation in galactic history." The display zoomed in on various sectors, showing the aftermath of the day's engagements. In system after system, debris fields marked the locations where Void Hunter fleets had made their final stand. The human forces were already withdrawing to their concealed bases, leaving no trace of their presence except the absence of the threat. "Captain, I need to ask directly. What are humanity's intentions regarding the rest of the galaxy?" You've demonstrated capabilities that exceed any single species in the Hegemony Council. Are we looking at a potential new galactic power? Hayes was quiet for a long moment, studying the tactical display. Ambassador, let me ask you a question. In all your years of diplomatic service, how many species have you encountered that actively sought conflict? Very few. Most civilizations prefer peaceful coexistence once they reach interstellar capability. Exactly. The galaxy is full of reasonable people who want to live their lives, pursue their interests, and raise their children in safety. The problem is that it only takes one unreasonable group to threaten millions of innocent lives. The display shifted to show historical data about Void Hunter attacks, system after system marked in red, representing entire civilizations that had been consumed and destroyed. 37 species completely extinct, billions of individuals dead, hundreds of worlds stripped bare and left lifeless. All because the galaxy's response to the Void Hunter threat was to retreat and hope someone else would handle the problem. And humanity decided to handle it yourselves. We decided that the problem needed to be solved permanently. Today, we solved it. Tomorrow, we go back to being a peaceful species interested in trade and cultural exchange. But if another threat emerges, if something else decides to prey on innocent civilizations, they will discover that humanity is still watching. Hayes turned from the display to face Krill directly. We don't want to rule the galaxy, Ambassador. We don't want tribute or territory or recognition. We just want to make sure that reasonable people can live their lives without fear of predators. Through the ship's communication systems, reports continued to filter in from human fleets across the galaxy. Mission accomplished. Threat eliminated. All personnel returning to standard positions. No casualties, no complications, no loose ends. What happens now? Krill asked. Now we verify that the Beacon Prime colony is completely secure, make sure their research can continue without interruption, and return to our normal operations. The mining station will resume its cover functions, and I'll return to discussing trade agreements and cultural exchange programs. And the galactic community? How do we explain what happened here? Hayes smiled. That's up to you, Ambassador. You can report whatever you think is appropriate. Just remember that what you witnessed today was problem-solving, not aggression. The galaxy is safer now than it was this morning. As the Retribution began its journey back to Titan 7, Krill realized he was facing the most challenging report of his diplomatic career. How do you explain to the Hegemony Council that they had just encountered a species that treated galaxy-wide military campaigns as routine maintenance activities? The return journey to Titan 7 passed in contemplative silence. Krill spent most of the trip in his assigned quarters, staring out at the stars and trying to process what he had witnessed. In a single day, his understanding of galactic power structures, military capabilities, and the nature of humanity itself had been completely overturned. When they docked at the mining station, everything had returned to its peaceful facade. The weapon emplacements were hidden, the ships were concealed in their underground berths, and human personnel moved about their tasks with the same calm efficiency they had shown during the initial trade negotiations. Only Krill seemed to carry any memory of the morning's events. Captain Hayes walked him to the same conference room where they had first discussed humanity's integration into the Hegemony Council. The holographic displays showed mining quotas and resource allocation charts rather than tactical deployments and battle damage assessments. I imagine you have questions, Hayes said, settling into the same chair he had occupied during their diplomatic discussions. Only one that matters, Krill replied. What do you want me to tell the Council? Hayes considered this carefully. Tell them the truth. Tell them that humanity successfully responded to the Beacon Prime crisis and eliminated the threat to the research colony. Tell them that the Void Hunters are no longer a concern for galactic security. And the rest? Your hidden fleets. Your secret military installations, your capability to coordinate operations across multiple sectors simultaneously. Tell them whatever you think is appropriate. But remember, Ambassador, we haven't hidden anything from you. We simply didn't volunteer information that wasn't directly relevant to our membership application. Krill felt a chill run through him. Every answer you gave during our negotiations was technically accurate, wasn't it? Completely accurate. We are a level 3 civilization by your classification standards. We do have 8 billion people on our home world with colonies scattered across 12 systems. We are interested in peaceful cooperation and mutual benefit. We do want to join the Hegemony Council and participate in galactic civilization. But you're also the most powerful military force the galaxy has ever seen. Hayes shook his head. We're problem solvers, Ambassador. Today there was a problem that threatened 50,000 innocent people. We solved it. If another problem emerges tomorrow that threatens galactic stability, we'll solve that too. It's simply what we do. What you do, Krill repeated slowly. Captain, do you understand the implications of what you're telling me? Your species has effectively appointed itself as the galaxy's military force without consulting anyone. We didn't appoint ourselves to anything. We simply prepared for contingencies. When the Void Hunters attacked Beacon Prime, we had the capability to respond effectively. Would you have preferred that we let 50,000 people die while waiting for proper authorization? The question hung in the air between them. Krill realized that any answer he gave would sound callous compared to the simple efficiency of humanity's response. They had saved lives and eliminated a galactic threat without asking for permission, resources, or recognition. How many more are there? Krill asked quietly. More what? More threats like the Void Hunters. More problems that you're prepared to solve. Hayes activated a small display on the conference table. Star charts appeared showing various regions of the galaxy marked with different colored indicators. The Crimson Brotherhood still operates in the Cygnus arm, though they're mostly pirates rather than a genuine existential threat. The Ravager. Fleet has been quiet lately, but they bear watching. There are 3 or 4 smaller nomadic groups that occasionally cause problems. And you're monitoring all of them. We're monitoring everything, Ambassador. It's what responsible civilizations do when they have the capability. Krill stared at the star charts with growing understanding. You're not just joining the galactic community. You're taking responsibility for protecting it. Someone has to. The simple statement carried more weight than any formal treaty or alliance agreement Krill had ever witnessed. Hayes wasn't boasting or threatening. He was simply stating a fact. Humanity had looked at the galaxy's problems and decided to fix them. What happens when the Council asks how you were able to respond so quickly to the Beacon Prime situation? Tell them we were in the right place at the right time. Tell them we had ships nearby conducting training exercises. Tell them whatever makes the most sense to you. And if they investigate further, if they want to inspect your facilities or review your military capabilities, Hayes smiled. They're welcome to inspect the mining station anytime they like. As for our military capabilities, I think today's results speak for themselves. The Void Hunters are gone. Beacon Prime is safe. Galactic stability has been preserved. Over the next hour, they completed the final details of humanity's integration application. Trade agreements, cultural exchange programs, diplomatic protocols. Everything proceeded exactly as it had before the morning's revelation. Hayes answered questions with the same patient thoroughness, discussed resource allocation with the same practical efficiency, and maintained the same careful attention to diplomatic courtesy. When the session concluded, Krill walked slowly back to his quarters to prepare his report. The words came slowly at first, then faster as he realized what he needed to convey to the Council. He wrote about humanity's successful response to the Beacon Prime crisis. He documented their efficient coordination and effective elimination of the Void Hunter threat. He noted their continued interest in peaceful integration and their commitment to galactic stability. What he didn't write was more significant than what he did. He didn't mention the hidden fleets or the secret installations. He didn't describe the scope of humanity's military preparations or their capability for galaxy-wide coordination. He didn't explain that the galaxy had just acquired a guardian, species that operated with surgical precision and unlimited reach. Instead, he wrote one simple recommendation: approve all human requests, immediately, without question, forever. 3 weeks later, humanity was formally welcomed into the Hegemony Council with unanimous support. Their integration proceeded smoothly, their trade agreements were generous, and their diplomatic representatives displayed remarkable wisdom for such a young species. The Void Hunters were officially listed in Council records as having suffered societal collapse due to overextension of resources. No mention was made of military action or outside intervention. The 47 fleets had simply vanished from the galaxy over the course of a single day, leaving only debris fields that were soon cleaned up by automated recovery systems. 6 months after the Beacon Prime incident, Krill received a personal message from Captain Hayes. The mining operation was proceeding successfully, trade relationships were developing well, and humanity continued to appreciate their membership in the galactic community. The message included one additional note. The Crimson Brotherhood has decided to pursue legitimate commerce rather than piracy. The Ravager fleet has relocated to uninhabited systems beyond the galactic rim. All other potential problems have been resolved through diplomatic channels. The galaxy remains stable and secure. Krill deleted the message without responding, but he slept better that night, knowing that somewhere in the darkness between stars, reasonable people were watching. Years later, when other council members mentioned humanity's remarkable luck in avoiding conflicts or their surprising effectiveness in resolving regional disputes, Krill would simply nod and say nothing. He knew the truth about their luck and effectiveness, but some knowledge was too dangerous to share. The galaxy was safer now. That was what mattered, and if anyone ever threatened that safety again, they would discover that humanity was still watching, still prepared, and still very, very good at solving problems permanently.